Robert Jenrick says those who are colonised should be thanking Britain. He posted this on Twitter. I'm not ashamed of our history. And then with the post, he added an image, Daily Mail exclusive. Britain's former colonies should be thanking us for the legacy of the empire and not demanding slavery reparations. He also linked to an article he wrote in the Daily Mail. Many of Britain's former colonies owe us a debt of gratitude for the inheritance we left them. So Keir Starmer spent the weekend doing what he does best, capitulating to those determined to tear our country down. After 48 hours of pressure to start a conversation on paying reparations to Commonwealth countries for the slave trade, he U-turned on his position and capitulated. As if that was not bad enough, Labour MPs attacked him for having a colonial mindset because he has not already forked out billions of taxpayers' money. Just over 100 days into this government, Labour are cooking up ways to send our money overseas while they slash winter fuel payments for pensioners on as little as £13,000. But this weakness points to a wider confusion in our society, the bizarre, unpatriotic belief that we should be embarrassed about our history. It has seeped into our national debate through universities overrun by leftists peddling pseudo-Marxist gibberish to impressionable undergraduates. In West Africa, we initially continued the barbarism of slavery, but confronted by its cruelty, we ended it, not only for ourselves, but for the world. It wasn't cheap either. Ending the trade cost an estimated 1.8% of our GDP between 1808 and 1867, over twice what we spend on overseas aid today. I'm not ashamed of our history. It may not feel like it, but many of our former colonies, amid the complex realities of empire, owe us a debt of gratitude for the inheritance we left them. Oh, it wasn't cheap for us to end slavery. It cost us dearly. I mean, he's making sure he mentions that. What he doesn't mention is that the cost to end it went to the slave owners. Now, Dr. Sholomo Shogbamimu responded by saying this on Twitter. So Robert Jenrick, the molestation, fetishization, sexual abuse, exploitation, commodification, and systemic rape of black women is the inheritance former colonised nations should thank British Empire for. For caucasity, attached are images of the vile treatment Africans were treated by the empire. Now, this is some really astonishing stuff. Samuel, is recognising the terrible things we did in the empire make us pseudo-Marxists talking gibberish, as Jenrick says?
No, it doesn't. And, I just want to say that picture as well is so triggering, and this story is just so infuriating and just makes me really angry. I guess stories make me kind of angry in general, but I mean, this one in particular, I just think that the direction of the Tory party is a complete joke now. I mean, it has been for a very, very long time, obviously, but it just reeks of a party that has no ideas, no future, and it reeks of desperation because they know that they're not going to be able to do what they need to do in terms of getting more people on side, so they're just throwing bones to their base. It's just disgusting, and as obviously a black person looking at that image and seeing those images of atrocities. I mean, there's many more, unfortunately, images of horrible things that were committed on behalf of the British Empire. But the fact that he said that is so insulting.
Yeah, and I think as well, he's saying it's poisoning the national debate. He's poisoning the national debate because, first of all, he's acting like Keir Starmer is extremely left-wing on this. I'm pretty sure that he came out and said we're not going to do reparations. Obviously, Keir Starmer is trying to appeal to the right. So even Keir Starmer, he thinks is too left-wing for Jenrick. But what's poisoning the debate is that we've not actually had a real discussion on the empire. There are still effects of the empire that is disproportionately affecting people today. That's why. Why do we have high levels of immigration? Or why do people want to come here? As the poet and writer Akala brilliantly said, well, the Queen and the Crown and the Empire stole the wealth from the global South, brought it to Britain, and people are just following the wealth that was theirs. I think it is absolutely disgusting and it is insulting. But what do you think Jenrick is doing here? I mean, is this a political calculation, given he's running for leader? I don't doubt he personally believes this. But given this and many other insane things he said, is that what we should expect from a Jenrick Tory leadership, or is this just a strategy to win over the membership?
I think it is a strategy you can expect going forward more broadly nationally, because if you look at where we are, you can already see the influence of the Conservatives in America, in the UK, bringing that kind of MAGA style craziness into the UK, and I think in many respects it's already here, right? This is what we see in the rise of reform, which is one of the reasons why the Conservatives are so desperately trying to drag the party in that direction, because they know they can't compete with reform in that sense. So they're trying to make these statements, trigger the libs, if you will. I mean, it's just, that's all they have at this point. So they're going to engage in that. I mean, when was the last time you heard, for example, a housing strategy from the Tories that was comprehensive and spoke about lifting people out of poverty? When was the last time you heard about a comprehensive homelessness strategy in terms of ending homelessness? It's just not there. So to your question, what they're just going to continue to do is double down on this MAGA style craziness. I'm not sure. I think it was a reform rally. It wasn't a Conservative rally. It was a reform rally a couple of months ago. I'm not sure if you saw it. And they had a sort of MAGA style stage. It was like a conference. You had all these big lights and stuff. And even though it was reform, I can see that influence also starting to drip into the Conservatives, and even into the way that, mainstream politics is done in the UK, the Americanization of it. But that's another thing as well. But yeah, I think that Robert Jenrick is an odious individual, terrible person, and same with Kemi, who I'm sure our audience doesn't really isn't her biggest fan. I would say that.
I think it is a good point you made. The Americanization of British politics, specifically MAGA. I mean, of course, we are not as extreme as the US right now. You can see elements of it spilling over. In fact, actually, last week we covered the Tommy Robinson rally, or beginning of the week, and we have people with MAGA hats. This is Britain, not America. Why are you talking about a foreign president, or, former president, maybe president again? And I think we're using a lot of the culture wars and the arguments from America. Woke started in the US, now it's over here. We're hearing arguments of reverse racism. Actually, we're racist against white people these days. And it is really dangerous because it's not just in reform, but it is seeping into the Conservative Party.
That's a classic of, not sorry to interrupt you, but that's a classic of, I think his name is it Lawrence? You'll know his surname. Lawrence
Fox.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's when you when you mentioned the reverse racism, I was like, that is a Lawrence Fox classic right there. That's what I call a Lawrence Fox classic. These group of people cannot, for their own ideological and egotistical reasons, ever admit any wrongdoing on behalf of the British Empire or the idea of white nationalism and white racism. They cannot admit it. It's not going to happen. So, like you said, what you're seeing from these groups of people is this insistence that we are the victims. And, I have to say, this whole fascist strategy, because it is fascist, that MAGA is using at the moment, that Nigel Farage, that Putin, all these guys use, that I'm the victim, it's pretty effective. For all our disagreements with these people, we can see that they really do double down on this idea that they are the ones that are aggrieved. Even though they're the billionaires, even though they're the ones with the old money, they double down on the idea that they are the ones being attacked. And it works for them in many respects, because they draw upon people's frustrations, who also attach their upsets, their feelings of upset with that. So that's what I think a lot of what we're seeing today as well in politics.